Good evening. I'm Dr. Ari Yaris, a licensed psychologist in Maryland, and I blog at The Innovative Dad. I think probably the toughest thing about our situation right now as we enter week 7, week 8, I mean, at this point, I've kind of lost track and stopped counting of our stay-at-home orders, is really around how we're approaching it. And I think at this point in the process, a lot of us as parents are feeling exceptionally exhausted, and our kids are wearing on our nerves, and we're pooped because trying to work and manage a household and manage your kids' learning all at the same time, it's really challenging. And I think one of the ways for us to approach it, and perhaps to help our kids approach it, and maybe to have a little bit more ownership of it, is around this idea of mindset. And this is something that comes out of initially the research of Carol Dweck, who many of you heard about before, and I've talked about growth mindset in the past here, as well as on the blog. And the big thing around this is, what do we want to promote? What do we want to encourage in our kids? And mindset is one of those ways of going about and doing this. And it's not a heavy parenting lift. I don't want anybody thinking, oh, here's some more psycho mumbo bumbo, and you're gonna like push me to do something. I don't have the strength. It really does start at a very simple place. So let's define some terms, and then we'll dive into some strategies that you can use. So I think the big thing to think about this, and perhaps this is maybe where some of our kids are right now with their distance learning, and we are with their distance learning, is around, are we focused on giving up or versus persistence? Giving up is a fixed mindset. It's this idea that I'm done. Whereas a growth mindset is going to encourage persistence and just kind of keep going towards that goal. It also sort of divides into the difference between having a lack of confidence and having confidence. If you're approaching things with a growth mindset, you're going to have a little bit more confidence. It's got nothing to do with success versus failure. It really has to do, are you avoiding a challenge or are you embracing a challenge? And there certainly are an incredible number of challenges that we're dealing with right now, as well as like, are you going to hide the struggle that you're engaged in, or are you going to seek out help for this struggle? So that's just sort of some framing questions to think about as we talk about a growth mindset. So I really, maybe the starting point I would think about is that, your kids are familiar with the idea of needing to exercise to strengthen their muscles, but their brains can get stronger as well. And this has to do around our ability to sort of dive into to do things and persist. And maybe even like using the analogy of lots of tiny light bulbs. So the more light bulbs that you turn on, the brighter that things get. And as you first time that you're practicing something, that light bulb is only going to go on a little bit. Think of it maybe as a dimmer switch or as a display of Christmas tree lights. You don't see the full image until you've turned on more and more lights. So you want to have your, let's say you're riding the bike light bulb, be just as strong as your light bulb for being able to eat a candy bar, which is a skill set that you didn't initially have. Heck, how do I open this? How do I get to that yummy chocolatey goodness? And you had to figure that out. And yes, okay, that's a simpler skill maybe, but it's still complicated. And the more that you engage in something, the more that you practice something, you're turning on your brain, you're strengthening it, and if you can keep repeating that script that yes, you are capable of learning things, and that you need to put an effort to build your brain, and that every brain can get smarter and stronger and be capable of doing more things. You just need to turn the light bulbs on more, and you'll get there. You also want to make sure that you're paying attention to effort. And I think effort is really important right now because our kids can throw together their work for school in sort of a slapdash manner and not really put a significant amount of effort, particularly if we don't have the bandwidth to be monitoring them and staying on top of them. What we want to be talking about is, okay, this is the thing. I see where you really, really tried. You saw that this is a hard assignment and you kept breaking your teeth on it, but you stuck with it. I liked how you kept going back and trying again. It has nothing to do with the grade. And right now, given a lot of the situations for our kids at school where they're not receiving the usual letter grades that they're used to, this is a great time to really do that. And it kind of leads into the next idea of catching them being persistent. When you see them moving into that, even when they haven't gotten the grade that has shown the product of the content, but just that they're, you're really trying this right now. When you are doing that, when you're trying to give them praise, I want you to be as specific as possible because that really helps cue them into their efforts. I mean, think about it at your own job. If you get praise from your boss and it's just attaboy, you're doing a good job, without really honing in on what it is that you're doing well, you don't know, what to change, what to focus on. You might get superstitious about what you're working on and not actually, fix that right thing that you should be doing. You don't want to say to them, you did a great job on that. You want to just dig in a little bit more. I really like how you tried out different solutions for that problem that you were working on, or I like how you kept going back to this, or I like how you decided to give yourself a brain break as you were getting frustrated, and then you decided to go back into it. And I really like the way that you handled your frustration. And I think that blends into this idea of allowing them to have a healthy attitude around failure. Um, Celebrate failures. I've talked about this before. Share your failures with your kids. If you make the fact that we do all screw up, to err is human, and we're public about it, we don't spend enough time talking about that. And it's funny because there's a whole genre of images called Pinterest fails, which we then do celebrate because of our disasters in relation to trying to make some of these crazy Pinterest crafty thingies that are they're not really crafty. They require a level of sophisticated talent that we're not there yet for. Which brings me to the word yet. You're probably getting, like I am at home, a lot of, I can't do that, I don't know how to do that. Add the word yet to the end of that sentence. You're right. You don't know how to do that yet. And if you add that to your kids' self-talk, it's a really powerful thing. It gives them more energy. It builds up their self-esteem. Okay, I can't do this yet. But that word yet has in the promise with it that it's going to happen. And it's going to happen eventually. And I think that's great. You want to make sure that your kids are also thinking about the big picture. Forest and trees is really important right now as they may be getting frustrated. Oh, the internet connection keeps dropping out, or this or that with school. Focus them on the larger picture of their learning and that things don't proceed down a straight line, and that they're going to take some turns and it's going to be crooked, and that's what's going to make it interesting. And that's really important. So these are just some small, easy ways to adjust the way that we're speaking to our kids without going nuts in terms of changing our parenting styles overnight, or asking you as a parent to do one more thing right now. Maybe we need to turn this around and put the suggestions I've been giving into our own work right now. I'm not promoting a growth mindset in my kids yet. But I'm going to be trying, and I might fail a little bit doing it, but I'm going to give myself permission to fail because I think it's going to help my kids be more successful in the long term, to keep trying at this and to keep encouraging myself to do this with them. And maybe, even, if you're home with your partner, doing a little praise back and forth with each other around this and being specific. I really liked how when you were talking with Johnny earlier about his assignment, that you were specific with your praise. And it was clear that you were encouraging distinct things that he had done on that assignment. Or you encouraged Jane to use the word yet when she was talking about something that she just couldn't do and she was getting frustrated. And you sort of turned that around. So I think these are just things that are important for us to try, particularly in these trying circumstances. And the more that we invest in our mindset, I think the better off that we're going to be in terms of surviving and maybe even thriving a little bit in what are crazy, challenging circumstances that we we don't have something similar to draw on, or to consider that, oh, well, the last time that this happened, I tried blah, 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 blah. I don't have a last time this happened. So everything that we're trying is new. And that's part of the growth mindset that I'm trying to take with myself, and saying, okay, well, the big picture is that this is new, and that everything that I'm going to try on a day in and a day out basis is going to be new. It's going to be different. And I haven't mastered this yet, but I'm going to keep trying because I want to have that growth mindset. Well, thank you for joining me tonight. If you like what you heard this evening, you can find more parenting advice and strategies on my blog at www.ryaris.com. And you can also follow me on my page on Facebook or on Instagram. I look forward to hearing from you if you want to reach out and drop a comment. If you're a Maryland resident, you can also reach out to me for therapy services for your kid or parent coaching for yourself. Have a good night.